Hollywood has always been a place full of bright lights, red carpets, and huge dreams. But behind this glamorous world lies a dark side that most people never talk about. Some actors who were once loved by millions later became famous for disturbing crimes, shocking scandals, and dangerous behavior that destroyed their careers forever. When you see them on the big screen, you might think they are heroes, charming lovers, brave fighters, or funny comedians. But real life doesn't follow a movie script. In reality, many actors led double lives. They smiled for the camera while hiding the worst secrets imaginable. Fame gave them power, money gave them protection, and fans gave them blind trust. But eventually, truth always finds a way to come out. And when it came out for these actors, it came like a storm. Their fall from glory was so big, so dramatic, and so unbelievable that even Hollywood couldn't cover it up. These actors did not just make mistakes. They committed actions that shocked entire countries, destroyed families, and left deep emotional scars on their victims. Some abused their fame. Some used violence. Some became part of dangerous addictions. And some simply believed the law could never touch them. But the truth is simple. Nobody is bigger than justice. The court stepped in. The police stepped in. And now these actors are not living in luxury mansions anymore. They're living inside cold, dark prison cells, far away from the spotlight, far away from the cameras, and far away from the fans who once adored them. Their glamorous lifestyle is gone forever. Instead of makeup teams, they now deal with strict guards. Instead of limousines, they now follow prison routines. Instead of applause, they hear metal bars closing behind them. Each of their stories is a warning. Fame cannot protect someone forever, and no person is untouchable, no matter how powerful they appear on screen. This article looks at some of Hollywood's most controversial figures whose crimes led them to prison. These stories will take you behind the scenes, beyond the red carpets, and deep into a world where charm and talent could not hide the truth. The goal of this article is not to spread hate, but to share how dangerous it can be when people with fame misuse their power. Each actor on this list shows how quickly someone can fall when their actions cross legal and moral lines. And while Hollywood is still a magical place for millions, these stories remind us that even the brightest stars can burn out in the most disturbing ways. In this first section, we begin with one of the most shocking falls in entertainment history. The case of Bill Cosby, once known as America's Dad, now known worldwide for one of the biggest scandals in television history. His story is not just about crime. It is about trust, manipulation, and betrayal on a level that no one ever expected. His journey from a beloved cultural icon to a prison inmate is one of the most surprising and painful stories to ever come out of Hollywood. And as we move forward, each paragraph will reveal the stories of other actors whose actions spiraled out of control and led them to the same dark destination. A prison cell instead of a movie set, a criminal record instead of a Hollywood award, and a legacy ruined forever. Bill Cosby was once one of the most trusted, loved, and respected faces in all American entertainment. For decades, people saw him as the perfect father figure on television, a man full of wisdom, humor, and kindness. Families across the world grew up watching The Cosby Show, and many believe that Bill Cosby was the same gentle and caring person in real life. His warm smile, calm voice, and friendly personality made millions feel safe and connected. But what people did not know was that behind this friendly image existed a dark truth that would later shock the world. As time went on, more and more women began to speak out, sharing stories of experiences that were far from the clean and wholesome image Cosby showed on screen. These women felt scared for years, thinking no one would believe them because Cosby was too powerful, too famous, and too respected. For many of them, coming forward was not easy. They feared public anger, media attention, and powerful lawyers. But eventually, the truth became impossible to hide. The accusations kept increasing, and the pattern in their stories revealed something deeply disturbing. What hurt people most was not only the nature of the accusations, but the shocking difference between Cosby's public image and his private actions as investigations continued. The world started to see a new, darker side of Bill Cosby. The court cases were long, painful, and full of emotional testimony. Many of the victims spoke about how Cosby uses fame and influence to manipulate or silence them. This betrayal shook fans around the world. How could a man who played the most loving father on TV be connected to such terrible actions? It felt like a piece of childhood had been destroyed. Cosby's image collapsed rapidly. TV networks removed his shows, universities took back his honorary degrees, and fans across the world turned their backs on him. The man who once made millions laugh became a symbol of how fame can be misused to hurt others. When the court finally found him guilty, it felt like a moment of justice for many people who had been waiting for years. Cosby, once known as America's dad, was now known as a convicted criminal. Instead of film sets and luxury homes, he found himself inside a prison cell. The man who had lived a life of success, luxury, and admiration was now living under strict rules, wearing a prison uniform, and facing the consequences of his actions. His time in prison became a symbol that even the most powerful celebrities cannot escape justice forever. Cosby's fall showed how dangerous it is when famous people begin to think they are untouchable. Fame can protect someone for a long time, but it cannot protect them forever. His story remains one of the biggest scandals in Hollywood history, and it opened the door for many more victims in the industry to feel brave enough to speak out. While Cosby has denied the accusations many times, the legal outcomes and public reaction completely changed his legacy. Instead of being remembered for his comedy in his show, he is now remembered for one of the most shocking betrayals of trust in entertainment history. His story stands as a warning. The truth will eventually come out, no matter how powerful someone is or how carefully they hide their actions. And once the truth appears, even the brightest star can fall faster than anyone expects. Bill Cosby's journey from beloved comedian to prisoner is a painful reminder that actions always have consequences, and no amount of fame can wash away the harm done to others. His story is only the beginning of this list, and the rest of the actors we will discuss also witnessed their careers collapse in unbelievable ways, leading them straight into the harsh reality of prison life. If Bill Cosby's story shook Hollywood, then Harvey Weinstein's downfall shook the entire world. Weinstein was not just a regular actor or a normal celebrity. He was one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood history. For decades, he was the man behind some of the greatest movies ever made. His company produced award-winning films. He walked on every major red carpet, and he stood next to the biggest stars in the world. Many actors believe that if Weinstein liked you, your career would rise. But if he didn't, your dreams could end in a second. This level of power made him nearly untouchable for a long time. He controlled budgets, scripts, casting, and even awards. To the outside world, he looked like a hard-working genius who turned unknown actors into global stars. But behind the successful mask, a disturbing and deeply hidden truth was growing for years. Many women in Hollywood had long whispered stories about Weinstein's behavior, but fear kept them silent. They knew he could destroy their careers with one phone call. Some believed no one would trust them over such a powerful man. Others worried they would be blamed, shamed, or ignored. But everything changed when a few brave women finally decided to speak up. Their voices encouraged more women to come forward, and soon a shocking pattern appeared. Too many similar stories, too many similar experiences, too many years of silence. The world finally saw something that had been hidden for decades. Weinstein used his power, money, and influence in ways that harmed countless women. These stories were not just rumors anymore. They became evidence, witness statements, and detailed accounts that could no longer be denied as the truth spread across the world. Weinstein's entire empire collapsed almost overnight. Major magazines published investigations, actors publicly condemned him, and people everywhere demanded justice. Hollywood, which had protected him for so long, now turned its back on him. Companies removed his name from film credits, awards were returned, and his once feared reputation vanished in days. The man who once controlled Hollywood was suddenly powerless. When the court cases began, the world watched closely. The testimonies were emotional, painful, and revealing. Women described how Weinstein used his position to manipulate them, corner them, or threaten their careers. These stories were heartbreaking, and they showed how dangerous it can be when someone with too much power believes they can behave without consequences. When the verdict finally came, it became one of the most historic moments in legal and entertainment history. Weinstein was sentenced to decades in prison. The man who once walked freely on red carpets was now walking in handcuffs. His expensive suits were replaced with a prison uniform. His luxury lifestyle replaced with a small cell. He went from being invited to the most glamorous parties to being locked behind bars, far away from Hollywood, far away from movie sets, and far away from the power he once controlled. His fall was dramatic, fast, and complete, but Weinstein's story was bigger than just one man going to prison. It became the core spark of the global #MeToo movement, giving millions of people, women and men, the courage to speak up about experiences they had kept secret for years. His downfall forced Hollywood to re-examine its culture, its power structures, and its silence. It became a reminder that when someone abuses their power, justice may come slowly, but it eventually arrives. Weinstein's legacy is now one of the darkest in entertainment history. Instead of being remembered for the movies he produced, he will forever be remembered for the pain he caused and the lives he damaged. His story is a warning that no amount of fame, money, or awards can protect someone from the consequences of their actions. And like the others on this list, he is now living the rest of his life not in a mansion, but in a prison cell, paying the price for years of abuse and manipulation. Danny Masterson was once a familiar face in homes around the world. Many people knew him as Hyde, the cool, sarcastic, and rebellious character from the hit TV show That 70s Show. Masterson's role was funny, confident, and charming, and he became a fan favorite almost instantly. With his laid-back attitude and sharp comedic timing, he helped turn the show into a global success. For years, audiences saw him as a tough but lovable guy with a heart hidden under all that sarcasm. But while his character on TV was well-loved, Danny Masterson's real-life story was far more troubling. Hidden behind his celebrity image, a dark truth was slowly coming to the surface, one that would eventually destroy his career, his reputation, and even his freedom. The accusations against Masterson first began quietly, whispered among industry insiders. Some people brushed him off, thinking that Hollywood often created rumors around famous stars. Others believed the situation would never become public, because Masterson belonged to powerful social circles that were known for protecting their own members. But over time, as more victims gathered the courage to come forward, the accusations became impossible to ignore. Their stories shared painful details and unsettling similarities. The women described experiences they had been too afraid to speak about for years. They believed no one would listen because Masterson was famous, and they feared they would be blamed or silenced. But eventually, the truth started gaining strength. When investigations finally began, it became clear that this was not a simple case. It was a serious and deeply troubling situation that needed attention from court. The legal process was long and emotionally draining. The trial involved heartbreaking testimonies, detailed evidence, and powerful statements from the victims who bravely stood up in front of the world. As each story unfolded, the public began to realize that Masterson's public image hid a much darker reality. Many fans who had grown up watching That 70s Show were shocked and heartbroken. It was hard for them to accept that someone who made them laugh for years could be capable of something so damaging. Hollywood also reacted strongly. Projects were canceled, partnerships were cut, and both fans and celebrities distanced themselves from him. The cheerful, funny image people remember from TV no longer matched the disturbing details coming out in court. When the final verdict came, it became one of the most talked-about legal decisions involving a Hollywood actor. Danny Masterson was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison, a punishment that showed the seriousness of the crimes and the strength of the victims' voices. Once the sentence was announced, Masterson's life transformed instantly. The man who used to enjoy fame, luxury, and attention was now living behind bars, wearing a prison uniform, following strict routines, and facing a future with little hope of freedom. His fall from grace was fast, painful, and final. Hollywood completely cut ties. Fans abandoned him, and his legacy as an actor was permanently overshadowed by the crimes he was convicted of. That Masterson story shows how appearances can be misleading, especially in the entertainment world. Someone can look confident, funny, and charming on screen, while living a completely different and much darker reality off-screen. His case also proved how important it is for victims to be heard, believed, and supported. For years, many people stayed silent out of fear or pressure, but their courage helped bring justice and expose the truth. Danny Masterson's journey from sitcom success to a prison sentence is a powerful reminder that fame does not protect someone from consequences. No matter how popular or wealthy a person becomes, the truth eventually comes out. And when it does, even a beloved TV star can end up spending the rest of his life behind bars. Their stories are not just scandals. They are warnings about what happens when someone abuses power and trust. Jared Fogle was never a traditional Hollywood actor, but his fame made him one of the most recognized faces on television for many years. Known as the Subway Guy, he became an unlikely celebrity after claiming that eating Subway sandwiches helped him lose a massive amount of weight. His story spread across the country, inspiring millions of people and turning him into a symbol of health, discipline, and positive change. Subway used him in commercials, billboards, and events, making him a household name around the world. Families trusted him, children looked up to him, and companies paid him to speak about healthy habits and lifestyle choices. At first glance, Jared seemed like a harmless and inspirational public figure, someone who had transformed his life and wanted to help others do the same. But beneath this friendly and motivational image was a dark and disturbing reality that would eventually shock America. The first signs that something was terribly wrong began to appear slowly. People who worked around Jared started noticing strange comments and unusual behavior. Still, many refused to believe anything bad about him because his public image was so positive. For years, fans viewed him as a success story, and Subway believed their brand was safe in his hands. However, everything changed when federal investigators received information that pointed toward a hidden side of Jared's life. The details were horrifying, and the more investigators looked into his private world, the worse the truth became. What they discovered was not just disappointing. It was deeply disturbing. It revealed behavior that had no place in society and absolutely no connection to the good guy image he had shown on TV. As the investigation continued, the evidence grew stronger. Secrets that Jared had hidden for years finally came out, and the public could not believe what they were hearing. The truth spread across news channels, social media, and newspapers faster than anyone expected. Fans were shocked, parents were furious, and Subway immediately cut all ties with him. The man who had been a national symbol of healthy living suddenly became one of the most hated figures in the country. His fall from fame was instant. No Hollywood actor or celebrity had ever seen their career collapse so quickly and so completely. What made it even worse was the level of trust Jared had destroyed. He had spoken at schools, events, and communities, all while hiding behavior that no one would have ever imagined. When the case reached court, the level of evidence was overwhelming. Jared Fogle pleaded guilty, shocking the world even more. The judge sentenced him to years in federal prison, ensuring that he would never again have a chance to harm anyone or use his fame to influence others. His life as a celebrity ended in the worst way possible. Not with a quiet retirement or a career decline, but with a prison sentence and permanent shame. Inside the prison system, Jared lives a life completely different from the one he once enjoyed. No more cameras, no more commercials, no more cheering fans. Instead of traveling the country and giving speeches, he now spends his days behind locked doors, following strict rules, and facing the consequences of his actions. Jared Fogle's story is a terrifying example of how someone with fame can hide dangerous behavior behind a friendly smile. It shows how a person can pretend to be a role model while hiding secrets that hurt innocent lives. His fall also reminds the public to be careful about who they trust, especially those who appear perfect in the media. Fame can create a mask, but eventually the truth comes out, no matter how long someone tries to hide it. Jared's case remains one of the most shocking scandals because it destroyed not only his career, but also the trust of millions who once believed in him. His story is now a permanent warning. Behind a clean image, darkness can still exist, and sometimes the most unexpected people are hiding the worst secrets. Before Robert Downey Jr. became one of the biggest and most beloved stars in Hollywood, known around the world as Iron Man, his life was full of chaos, addiction, and painful mistakes. Today, millions admire him, children look up to him, and adults respect him as someone who turned his life around. But back in the 1990s and early 2000s, Downey was known not for heroism, but for self-destruction. His talent was never in question. Everyone agreed he was a brilliant actor even when he was very young. But behind that talent was a man fighting serious battles with addiction, legal trouble, and a lifestyle that was spinning completely out of control. There were days when Downey didn't show up on movie sets, nights when he disappeared into dangerous habits, and months when studios refused to hire him because they couldn't trust him. His fame was slipping away, and the bright future everyone expected for him seemed to be collapsing. Hollywood is a tough place, And once you get labeled as unreliable, it becomes harder and harder to get work. No matter how talented you are, Downey's legal problems grew worse each year. He was arrested multiple times, and the stories filled newspapers everywhere. People who once admired him now felt confused and disappointed. They could not understand how such a brilliant actor could throw away his career so quickly. Judges warned him. Family members begged him to get help, and studios walked away from projects he had already started. But addiction is a powerful force, and Downey was trapped in a cycle that kept repeating. One of the most shocking moments came when he was found wandering into a neighbor's house and falling asleep inside a child's bedroom. Not out of evil intentions, but out of complete loss of control. This incident made headlines across the world and became a symbol of how far he had fallen from the promising young star he once was. Eventually, the law stepped in more forcefully. After several violations and repeated mistakes, the judge had no choice but to send him to jail. This moment became the lowest point in Downey's life. Inside prison, Downey was forced to confront reality. Gone were the days of movie sets, expensive clothes, and crowds of fans. Instead, he found himself in a small cell, surrounded by people who had also reached the darkest points of their lives. For the first time, Downey could not escape his problems with fame or money. He had to face himself fully, honestly, and painfully. And surprisingly, this time behind bars became the turning point that changed everything. When he got out, he realized he needed a complete transformation. He entered rehab, stayed away from the people and places that fed his addictions, and slowly began rebuilding his life from zero. Many people didn't believe he could make a comeback. They thought he was too damaged, too unreliable, or too far gone. Hollywood rarely gives people second chances, and Downey's reputation was almost destroyed. But Robert Downey Jr. did something truly rare. He proved everyone wrong. He worked hard, stayed focused, and rebuilt trust step by step. Eventually, he got a small role in a film, then another, and then came the moment that would change his life forever. Marvel cast him as Tony Stark in Iron Man. That role not only revived his career, it turned him into one of the most successful actors in history. Today, he is celebrated not for his mistakes, but for his redemption. His story stands out from others in this article because it shows that not everyone who goes to jail is evil. Some people make terrible decisions, fall into dangerous lifestyles, and struggle for years before they finally find a way back. Downey's past is a reminder that even the brightest stars can fall, but sometimes they rise again even stronger. His journey from chaos to redemption remains one of Hollywood's most inspiring transformations. Behind the glittering lights of Hollywood, there's a world most people never see. On the surface, everything looks glamorous, luxurious, and perfect. But behind the cameras, a harsh reality exists, one that can shake anyone's soul. The journey to fame may look exciting, but it is often full of sacrifices, fear, pressure, and deep loneliness. Actors and actresses who appear in front of millions of people every day rarely have the privacy, peace, or personal time that ordinary people take for granted. In today's world, even a small mistake or personal choice can instantly become headline news, adding enormous pressure to already stressful lives. Many stars have openly admitted that they can feel completely alone, even when surrounded by adoring fans, because the world often loves their fame more than it loves them as human beings. This sense of isolation creates a deep inner void that grows stronger over time. To fill that void, some stars make choices that later dramatically affect their lives, sometimes positively, but often in dangerous or destructive ways. Addiction, reckless partying, or toxic relationships are all too common, as some try to escape the emotional weight of fame. Hollywood may look like a dream world, but in reality, it is also a ruthless place where everyone competes to stay ahead, and very few people pause to help those who fall behind. Studios, agents, producers, and media all focus on one thing: profit, fame, and public attention. Very rarely does anyone ask the deeper question: how is this person coping mentally? Can they handle the constant scrutiny and pressure? Because of this constant pressure, many stars find themselves making choices that can lead to trouble with the law or public scandals. The industry is unforgiving, and even small mistakes are magnified. Some actors fall into cycles of substance abuse to manage stress, while others struggle with personal relationships or mental health issues in ways the public cannot see. The brightest stars sometimes hide the darkest struggles. The world sees only awards, red carpets, and smiling faces, but behind the cameras, there are nights of loneliness, despair, and fear of failure. The contrast between the public image and private reality can be devastating. Many stars attempt to maintain perfection while secretly fighting battles that no one else can understand. When these pressures become too much, even the most talented and beloved actors can make decisions that lead to arrests, legal trouble, or the collapse of their personal and professional lives. In some cases, these challenges are never fully overcome, leaving lasting scars that affect relationships, careers, and health. Yet, Hollywood is also a place of second chances. Some stars, after reaching the lowest points of their lives, manage to rebuild and regain respect. Redemption stories like that of Robert Downey Jr. show that recovery is possible, but they are exceptions rather than the rule. Many others never fully escape the shadows of their mistakes, as the world remembers them not only for their talent, but also for the scandals and tragedies. This hidden darkness behind fame teaches an important lesson. Celebrity life is not only about money, glamour, or success. It is also about immense responsibility, constant public scrutiny, and a mental load that few can handle. The price of fame is often heavier than anyone realizes. In the end, the world applauds the stars for their talent, beauty, or charm, but few appreciate the personal struggles and sacrifices behind the applause. Some actors, trapped in this demanding environment, eventually face consequences, legal, moral, or personal, that define them as much as or even more than their work. This duality of light and shadow is the unspoken truth of Hollywood. For every dazzling performance, there is often a hidden story of pain, conflict, or rebellion that the public rarely sees. Understanding this side of fame is key to understanding the complex lives of stars whose names are etched into Hollywood history. Hollywood is filled with legends, icons whose talent has shaped the world of film and music. But for every celebrated star, there is often a hidden story of struggle, scandal, and personal downfall. The more famous someone becomes, the more their mistakes are amplified, and even minor missteps can lead to legal trouble or public disgrace. In many cases, actors who were once admired for their charm, charisma, and talent find themselves facing the consequences of choices made under intense pressure, often fueled by fame, wealth, and the desire to escape the relentless scrutiny of the public eye. The pressure to maintain an image of perfection can be overwhelming, and stars may resort to dangerous behaviors, substance abuse, reckless relationships, or even criminal acts to cope with the demands of stardom. The world sees a glamorous lifestyle, the luxury cars, the designer clothes, and the red carpets, but rarely sees the inner turmoil, loneliness, and fear that accompanies such a life. In Hollywood, the line between personal freedom and public expectation is extremely thin, and a failure to navigate it carefully can result in tragedy. When idols fall, it often starts quietly with rumors and whispers before escalating into legal battles or media scandals. For instance, many stars find themselves in trouble for behavior that would be considered normal or minor in everyday life. But because of their fame, every action is magnified and judged harshly. A single arrest for a DUI, possession of drugs, or a public fight can dominate headlines and shift public perception from admiration to condemnation. The stories of stars like Robert Mitchum, Jack Nicholson, and Bill Cosby show how fame can create both privilege and vulnerability. While some of these actors manage to survive public scrutiny and even turn scandal into part of their mystique, others face consequences that change their lives forever. Their careers were affected, their reputations tarnished, and their personal lives disrupted. Hollywood's golden lights, which once promised opportunity and glory, can also cast long shadows where despair and regret grow. Fame also has a way of blurring the line between personal identity and public persona. Many actors begin to feel pressure to perform constantly, not just in movies, but in life itself. They are expected to act charming, witty, or perfect at all times, regardless of how they feel inside. The fear of disappointing fans, losing roles, or being judged harshly can lead stars to hide their true selves, creating a cycle of stress and secrecy. Over time, some may develop coping mechanisms that ultimately bring them into conflict with the law or social norms. Others may struggle with mental health issues, often exacerbated by the constant spotlight, and turn alcohol or drugs as an escape. These choices, while understandable in context, can lead to public scandal and, in extreme cases, imprisonment. The irony of Hollywood is that the same qualities that make someone magnetic on screen, their boldness, charisma, and willingness to take risks, can also lead to personal trouble off-screen. Despite this dark side, Hollywood remains fascinated with fallen stars. Audiences are drawn not only to talent, but also to the stories of human weakness and rebellion. The media thrives on scandal, and the public often consumes it with a mix of fascination and judgment. This attention can sometimes prolong careers, as controversy becomes part of stars' allure, but it can also destroy reputations completely. Many actors live their lives walking a tightrope between glory and disaster, balancing artistic achievement with the risk of moral or legal failure. In this sense, Hollywood is both a playground and a battlefield, a place where immense talent meets intense scrutiny, and where personal choices can determine whether someone becomes immortalized as a legend or remembered as a cautionary tale. The stories of fallen idols remind us that fame is never without consequences. It exposes human weakness, amplifies mistakes, and challenges even the strongest personalities. While the world applauds on screen, the private battles often remain hidden, creating a stark contrast between public perception and private reality. Understanding this hidden side of Hollywood allows audiences to see that behind every glamorous star is a human being struggling with fear, temptation, and responsibility. It is a world where brilliance and darkness coexist, where fame can both elevate and destroy, and where the story of every star carries a lesson about the true cost of being adored by millions.